Well, good morning. How did you feel laying aside all that stuff?
Fantastic.
We got fantastic on the front row. The first time I experienced that form of that meditation, it got a little scary. I thought, what? I'm not my body, I'm not my thoughts and feelings, all of those different things. I recall some of us have been around, kicking around this place long enough to remember Jack and Pat Barker. And Jack Barker always used to say that this is just my earth suit. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so my body is my earth suit. And so here's what I want to happen is I'm so glad, for a little while there we kind of did away with the hugging and the greeting one another, and it's back. Did you notice that? It's back at the beginning. It's like Justin Timberlake bringing sexy back, right? I mean, it's back. And I love that. But here's what I want to do. There's not a whole lot of time left, but there is something. There's a phrase that haunts me every time I come and sit in the pews with you. And Peter Block, it's one of his favorite phrases, and he said it here many times. He says, "We come to church and turn our backs on each other." Does that make sense? You're looking at somebody's back. Now, not that we do it, intentionally or anything like that. So those few moments when we greet each other is really church to me. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to do it again. But we're going to do it in the light of what we just did in the meditation, where we lay aside our names, our possessions, our relationships, our body, our thoughts, and our feelings. And if there was any clarity that came through in all of that, maybe you'll see it this time. And guess what? You probably didn't get all around the room, did you? So we're going to do true church again for about 3 or 4 minutes. So let's get up and greet everyone as the true I am. And somebody hug Gus, the drummer. Make sure he doesn't have sticks in his hand.
Find your seat.
All right. No hurry, but go ahead and finish your conversation. We'll come back and sit down and kind of do church the traditional way. All right, now who remembers the affirmation still? Who remembers the affirmation? All right. You got it? All right, repeat the affirmation for me. Ready? Be still and know that I am God. That's right. From the 46th Psalm, that one's been around a while. And unlike any other Sunday, some of even our Catholic, our Presbyterian, Baptist, even our Jewish friends might be speaking on that this morning. We usually have like a wild topic, but we're pretty traditional today. Be still and know that I am God. And Peggy, did we get copies of that meditation? Okay, so somebody was asking about copies of that meditation. It's not originally mine, but that's kind of today's version of it. And so there are copies in the back if you want that a little bit later. So in the time that I have left, I just want to talk a little bit about the words there. Now, there's enough words for us to kind of hold it in working memory. Be still and know that I am God. I'm going to start with God first, because if I explain all the other words and you're thinking, oh, he's going to get to God and explain it, guess what? I'm not. Because there have been fleeting moments in my life when I thought I had God figured out, and now I just know that I don't know what God is. Or even if I knew, I couldn't tell you, because it's beyond words. And I mentioned our Jewish brothers and sisters, they have words for God. And really, that's the name of God in the Old Testament. I am that I am, was the response to Moses on the mountain when he asked God, what's your name? I am that I am. So who or whatever God is, I'm still searching for that answer. So we're not going to do that. But I can speak about the other things a bit. There are 3 verbs that are in that sentence. Be still and know that I am God. And so be is the first one, know is in the middle, and then comes the I am. And God's telling us to be, right? And that's the tense of that verb, be. That's all God has ever told us, is to be. And whatever I've learned about God, I pretty much have crossed off the list that God is like some big Santa Claus up there with a naughty and nice list, figuring out what you've done and who you've done it with, so you and that other person can be punished and will reward everybody else that didn't do it. Probably not going to happen. I can't imagine God that built the universe and then goes into police mode. I think it's an experiment, and we're here and we're finding out what love is. So we could sum this whole thing up with that one word. With God, whoever or whatever God is, just saying, be. Because then it shows up again in the I am, right? I am first person present. Isn't that cool? Is there anything else? There's only first person present. I do a lot of children's music, and there's research behind a thing called self-talk. And it says this: when a child early on, in probably from when they start understanding some words up to about 5 or 6 years old, develop what's called self-talk. It's an internal dialogue with oneself. And depending on what they hear, it turns out positive or negative. And so in the songs that I write for children and what we do in early childhood classrooms in preschool is try to have positive statements about oneself. I can do it. I can count on you. I can settle down. I can write any song I want. Those are all titles of songs for children. So do you have that voice in your head? Anybody have a committee like I do? That, and what they found in research, it was formed well before we could probably remember. And so it's those things but when we teach a child, when we sing songs to a child, instead of you can do it, which sounds like it's a supportive thing, we sing I can do it. It becomes the first person present. It becomes an affirmation from the inside out rather than a directive from the outside in. And we've lived long enough, we know we're going to get plenty of those, right? So there's the great I am. And when a child has that, they naturally tend not towards egotism and hoarding hoarding and self-gratification. There's a thing in the human spirit that leads them towards, well, I am, but you know, probably the I am is a little bigger than I think it is. I am an individual, and I'm part of a community, part of a family, and all these people need help, and I'm going to go do it as well. Be still. Oh, what's the title? Staying centered and peaceful in a sometimes hectic world. Anybody got a hectic world going on? I probably could ill afford this honor and this privilege. By the way, I'm humbled every time I stand here and am asked to stand here and to impart something and to take it very, very seriously. But I've been out of town. That's why you haven't seen me. I was in the Coeur d'Alene Indian Tribe Reservation last week, doing songs for early childhood. The week after was in Allentown, Pennsylvania. That's not quite as exotic, but it was cool too. And so Around the World in 80 Days, I've written the music for that, and ensemble theater, and I'm in the thick. I'm working around the clock on that. We just did Growing Sound. That's Children's Music Institute the last 2 days. There is no way I had time to prepare for this. But here's the thing. There's the topic, and I say to myself, can you be still when you're doing a whirlwind thing like that? Stillness isn't necessarily physical stillness. Eugene sang about there's a fool on the hill that stands very, very still. All right. Even when we're running around crazy and full, we can feel stillness within inside ourselves, and we take a few breaths. Just share one thing. I have this notion of writing a book called How I Learned to Love to Do the Dishes. Okay, and of course I shared it with my children, and guess what they let me do all the time? You know, I came home from Idaho, and it's like the dishes are just stacked up, the boys there. And I say to my youngest son, Nephi, some of you know him, I said, this is a reminder that I haven't been doing my sync meditation. You know, and he says, right, Dad, we would not want to take the privilege away from you. That's why it's all still there. How can we find that stillness inside ourselves? We can't be the fool on the hill all the time, although I very, very highly recommend it, because those times that I stay still 20 or 30 minutes a day and just really let that be my meditation, the day goes so much better. All right. See what I'm supposed to be talking about. Who knows? I'm going to do just 2 or 3 more minutes, and guess what? We're going to greet each other again. But let me just talk about, there's something about communication when we get frustrated. And with this children's music, I'm creative director, so I get to write all the songs, but there's a research director. His name's Tom Lotman, and he's a universal Unitarian, right? And so we described each other. I've told you this description before, but for folks who haven't heard it before, unity is like granola. You take out the nuts and the fruits, and all you have left are the flakes. And so I described it. He says, oh, well, Unitarian is very, very different than that. He said, Universal Unitarian died, and he was on this road. He came to a fork in the road, and one sign said, to heaven. And the other sign said, to a discussion whether heaven exists. So, but laying that aside, there's a lot of things that we agree on, and so, but he came to me this research. He reads all this research, and in this research he says, when we get frustrated, we come from 3 different places within ourselves. Some people get stuck in their heads, and they just can't find the words to say, and they just kind of freeze. You may be that type of person. Other people feel it in their gut. They get all hot under the collar, they get butterflies in their stomach, they get those kind of things. And then the third style of people, skeletal muscular. You know, they just don't want to lash out, they want to hit, they want to run away. And a lot of times our failures in communication with somebody when they're frustrated is just to fail to see which place they're coming from. Why aren't you mad like me? That person's stuck in their head, you know, or so on and so forth. And so so those three places, if I recognize where I am and can settle myself in whatever style I am, I can be still in that moment. I grew up in West Virginia, barefoot and wild on the hills of West Virginia, and my mother gave me all kinds of wonderful gifts. The love of music, the love of service. My dad taught me how to work hard. But my mom also taught me some other things. How to be totally overcommitted, unprepared, a procrastinator, and always late. Okay? And so I thought this was normal. After I missed the bus in second grade, she would get me in the car and drive down this windy hill with her breakfast in her lap, eating up pancakes and putting on lipstick in her rearview mirror. I thought that was normal. And I had to grow out of some things as we went on. It has taken me a while, and I'm still on the journey of finding that stillness within myself. But I know that whatever we define God as, that when I find the ability to be still, even in those hectic moments, when things are blowing up around me, I take that breath and find the stillness within me, and then I can make it through. I was in Idaho, but then I got to spend a couple of days with my brother in Seattle. I'd never been to Seattle. Anybody been to Seattle? Can't count. Not necessarily in November. It's all rainy and all that stuff. And so my brother, I'm the furthest out in my family. I'm the most woo-woo in my family. Okay, I don't know where I went to. And so, well, my brother, he's cool with it. And I said, hey, in Seattle, I hear they have ecstatic dance. Has anyone done ecstatic dance? No, all right, I'm talking about bringing sex. I'm going to bring it to Cincinnati because it's very, very cool. Now, but here's the thing, talking about stillness. He thought I said static dance. They have static, oh, I can handle that. There's my move. By the way, I love that. Gene, I'm glad you gave me this instead of the ear thing. I feel like I'm a stand-up comedian instead of a preacher. But no, I said ecstatic dance. And so we went to ecstatic dance. And just the thumbnail's explanation of that, it's free dance. And you just kind of dance, and the music has an art to it, and you can dance, or you can just close your eyes and be by yourself, or you can dance with other people. But there's only one rule in ecstatic dance, is when the music comes on until it goes off, there's no verbal communication. It's all movement, facial expression, eye communication. And it was fantastic. Of course, I'm a little woo-woo, but it was fantastic. I just loved it. So, for our last meet and greet, we're not going to mingle. We're just going to take about 2 minutes to stand up where we are. Find the true I am within ourselves. Let that shine through our faces and look all around the room. Look around people if you have to. Catch as many eyes as you can. And just deliver that message. Be still and know that I am God. Please stand in silence.